guys, I'm McGregor on the Haida Gwaii for our island adventure. Alright, back to this. Ran out of brew. So I'm going to go through the steps of making another batch of brew today. So let's get on with that. Okay guys, so let's start brewing. Okay, so I'm going to start with a Cooper's Canadian Blonde, not a Cooper's. And normally you'd use a dry malt extract or dextrose, but today I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to do a dark brown sugar mix instead of dextrose. And what dextrose or dry malt does is it's sugar basically, and what it does is it with the yeast is the yeast eats the sugar and turns it into alcohol, but the dextrose is virtually tasteless. Dry malt extract adds some body, but this stuff, it's got some good smell to it, and I think it's going to be really good. So let's give it a try. First thing you want to do, take off your top of your beer kit, and that just comes off like that. Get your yeast out of the top. Okay, make sure you keep that separate. Then you take out your instructions, read them if you haven't done it before, and then what you do is you turn your can this side down. It says there's two sides. This side says open other end of can. Okay, that's the side. The other end is the one you want to sit in a bunch of hot water. Okay, and just actually you can lay it on its side like so. Because that's going to warm it up. That's going to warm it up and make it much easier to pour. So let that sit for about 15-20 minutes. Okay, so while we're waiting for that to soften up, I'm going to take my carboy, and what I've done is I've added about 2.5-3 inches of hot water. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brown sugar and I'm going to dissolve that in there. So let's watch as we do that. You want this sanitized. You want a stir stick sanitized. You want your lid sanitized. Okay? Cleanliness is key to this whole thing. The sugar, you open it up. Dextrose or dry malt extract will basically dissolve very quickly, okay, in hot water. Brown sugar is probably going to take a little while longer. So, yeah, you can see what I'm doing, but we'll bring you over here and watch inside. Look at that, eh? That's all stirring up there. Okay, look how nice and look at the color of that. Isn't that nice? I think this may turn out good. Okay, so I brought this back in the kitchen because it's a little easier to do. And make sure that your brown sugar is all stirred and dissolved. You want to get it all in there, right? Just make sure. Okay, then you want to get yourself a pitcher of hot water, because when we open the can, once we drain it, we're going to pour that in and get any residue out of there. So let's get that can open. Because you want to get all that stuff off there, and basically take that over to the container and use your little spoon or spatula, scrape that off, because that's all good stuff. Now take the can of dry malt, or the kit, and we pour that in. There's still quite a bit in there, right? It's hard to see in the light. Let's go this way. As you can see, there's still quite a bit in there. So I'm going to use the hot water to get that out. Let's go back. I'm going to shut the door because the light is killing us, right? A little shiny want to go out. That's okay. Okay, get your hot water. Pour it in. Okay, and get your spatula. Stir it all up. You want to get all that stuff out of there as much as you can, because this is really super concentrated, and there's a lot of good flavor in here. And I'm just going to do one more. We pretty much got it, but I'm just going to do one more. Just to get that final little bits. And this will, by adding the hot water, it's going to help everything mix up anyways. So, get that. And there you go, guys. Got a nice clean inside. Again, mix. Okay, I want it mixed really, really good. Okay, you can see it's getting all frothy in there. That's good. You want it agitated as much as possible. Get it all mixed together. I'm going to give it a good shake, so I'm going to put you down. You can watch from over here. And we're just going to give it tar, baby. You can probably use a power mixer, but you know, this works just fine. Okay, now that you got it all mixed up, okay, now this is going to be too hot to add your yeast, okay, and plus we got to get it up to, the 23 liter mark before we do add our yeast. But we want this cooled down, so we're going to add cool water because we want this around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, around 20 degrees Celsius. Okay, so I'm going to use my jug again, and I'm going to just add cold water until it's full. Now, if you had a hose, you could do it. A hose or whatever. And just watch your level. Ooh, hello, little dog. You coming for a beer? And yeah, we're not quite there. And there we go, guys. Okay. All right. So now you can see we are at the 23 liter mark, and we're going to stir this all in. Okay, you can see he's all nice and frothy. Okay, which means we've got really good mixture there. Make sure you do your feel test. Yeah, it's feeling just slightly cool. So we're probably very, very close to the optimum temperature for pitching our yeast. And that's how easy it is. It's really that easy, guys. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to get this into its spot as quick as possible and pitch our yeast and get the lid on so that we can start making beer and we don't start spoiling the wort. Let's go do that. Okay, guys, so at this point, okay, we haven't got the yeasting yet. We're going to do that right now. What you want to do is you want to put this in a spot that's going to be undisturbed for the next week or 10 days while it ferments. So I've got it sitting on a table. You also want it high enough that you can do a siphon into the bottles when it's done without moving it. Otherwise you'll get a whole bunch of sediment in the bottom, and you don't want to do that. So let's go pitch our yeast and I'll show you what we're doing. Okay, guys, so here's my little yeast pack, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure it's all shaken down to the bottom. Okay, and we're going to take the top and just cut the top off nice and straight. Open a bit, and then what we're going to do, if you look, there's your, back that off a bit. Okay, there's the foam, and all you want to do is just sprinkle it around nice and even as possible. Just get it all nice and smooth. Okay, so you get a nice even distribution of yeast. Okay. Okay. Now at this point, you could leave it, okay, and it'll work fine, okay. But what we want to do, or what I like to do, and I learned this from a guy called Craig Tube, and look him up. He's really cool when it comes to beer making, and that's where I learned everything that I understand today about beer making and wine making. But we just let that sit for about 10 minutes, and then what we're going to do is we're going to stir it in, and that'll just finalize it nicely. Okay guys, so we've been about 10 minutes now. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to gently stir the yeast into the mixture, like so. And basically what that'll do is, that'll get your yeast going, man. It's going to happen quicker rather than later. So it'll start the process of fermenting. But you want to make sure that the yeast has a little bit of time to rehydrate a little bit on top of the foam. And then just stir it in. Okay. Make sure you got any yeast that's on the spoon. Make sure that's all off. Okay. And this goes aside. And then what you want to do is you want to get your lid. Make sure it's sanitized, guys. Always sanitize. Everything's got to be sanitized. Get him on as quick as possible. And you're done. Okay guys, so that is done. That's going to make 23 liters of beer. It's going to take about a week in here. It's 4 to 5 days, depending on temperature. If it's a little cooler, it's going to take like 7 days. So let that sit in there, and then we can start bottling, and you won't have to be drinking any of these anymore. So let's do some bottling. Okay guys, so it's been 10 days now for this batch, and it's been brewing along. I just did a hydrometer test on it, and it is perfectly done. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a siphon, and I'm going to fill the bottles up. So let's get on with that. Okay guys, so the first thing we need to do is get our bottles. So I got 3 cases of 750 milliliter bottles. And these have got the flip tops. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash these out in a bleach solution and sterilize them and sanitize them and make sure that they're just clean. Then we're going to fill them and seal them up and store them for about a week. Okay, so now I got my 36 bottles all sanitized and rinsed out. And I'm going to do a time thing on this to give you an idea how long it actually takes to make this. So this is taking me 19 minutes to sanitize and clean these bottles by hand. Okay, I don't have a dishwasher, which would have been way quicker, but by hand it's taken me 19 minutes. So we'll say 20 minutes to wash out the bottles and get them all sanitized. So now we're going to prime them with a teaspoon of sugar. Alright guys, so this is what's left is after you've done bottling is you got a dirty carboy and you got to get it clean. What I do is I do it right in the bathtub and I just mix bleach and water and wash that all out, rinse it all out really good dry, and it's ready for your next batch. Okay guys, so it's been just about 2 weeks now. Actually, it's been 2 weeks now, so we're going to try this beer out. Let's give it a taste test. It's got a nice head, nice bubble action. Wow, that is really good. Alright guys, make your homemade beer. It tastes good, way better than the store stuff, and it's cheaper. Okay guys, I'm McGregor on Haida Gwaii for Island Adventure. Take care.